Norton Media Center Presents. We are here at Norton Media Center in beautiful Norton, Massachusetts. I'm your host, Anthony Champagne, and I'm joined today by Ruth Schneider. Ruth, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ruth, you've been in Norton for many, many years. How long have you been in Norton for?
Since 1973.
Oh, my goodness. Born and raised in Norton?
No, I was born and raised in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Nice. And then you came here in 1973.
Yes.
Correct. Nice. Awesome. Now, what have you done in Norton? I know you've had several different positions that you've held. Can you just kind of take us through your life and your career in the town of Norton?
When I first came to Norton, I ended up being on the cemetery commission, of all things to do. But it was very enjoyable. I worked with very nice people, and I learned a lot about the history of Norton. I learned that there were 13 burial sites in Norton. I learned a lot about it, and it made me want to do more.
How did you get onto that commission? Was that something you just volunteered for?
There was an opening.
Okay.
And I wrote a letter asking if they would appoint me. And I got appointed, and I was on it for about 7 years.
Yes. And then where did you go from there?
From there, I taught preschool at the country school on Clapp Street in Norton for a couple of years when my kids were little. And that way I could be home with them during school vacation and in summertime. It worked out very, very good. And it was very enjoyable. It was a private preschool, met wonderful people. And as I get older, I see some of these kids. One's a police officer. I see a lot of people in different aspects. And that's what I did. And from there, I always wanted to be a nurse. I went and worked in the medical field. I worked in the medical field many, many years. But I always liked helping people.
What did you do in the medical field?
I was a medical secretary.
Oh, nice.
And I learned a lot from that.
Nice. Going back to your days as a preschool teacher, what did you enjoy most about working with the kids?
Just to see their smiley faces and just help them grow. Because at 3 and 4 years old, that's when they're really learning about things and they could really absorb everything. And they were sweet. They were really sweet kids.
Terrific. So then after that, you went into the medical field and you said you've always wanted to be a nurse.
Right.
What specific aspect of nursing intrigued you? Did you want to maybe work in the ER? Did you want to do pediatrician?
No, I just wanted to help people. I really hadn't decided what aspect I wanted. I just wanted to be there to help people.
With helping people, is this something that perhaps was instilled in you at an early age? Was there something that you were going through or something you did as a child that made you know right away that you wanted to help people as you got older?
Well, being an only child, it's a very lonesome life. And I had friends that had 7 kids, and I used to go over and help them do their chores so they could go out to play. And my mother always was a helping person. They didn't have much. She grew up in the Depression and things, and I think that my mother was a big aspect of me wanting to always help people.
If you don't mind me asking, what did your mother do for a living?
My mother was a nurse's aide.
Oh, okay, nice.
Oh, that.
So the help runs in the family.
Right.
Nice.
Correct.
Nice. And now I understand you have kids of your own.
Yeah.
And you said you were able to work as the preschool teacher while your kids were growing up as well. What did you do after you were done teaching?
Went home and cooked and did all the other things that you have to do. And brought my kids up and all their friends.
Nice. Very nice. And then when your kids grew up and then you were done with teaching, was there another board here in Norton that you became a part of, or?
Yes, the senior center.
Nice. Can you just talk to us about the senior center in Norton?
Well, many years ago, I was on a building committee to build a new senior center. And it was a lost cause at that time. People, I think, don't think they wanted to have a senior center. They were happy with what they had or what they thought they had. So the building committee was demolished, more or less. And at that time, another friend and I, the town manager, not the one we have now, the previous town manager, he knew that the people did want the senior center opened. It had been closed for 5 years, and the director at that time was working at the town hall, and he was part-time veterans agent and part-time director, and he was going to retire. And the town manager said, how would you two like to open the senior center? And said, how are we going to do this with no funds? He says, figure it out. Handed us the keys. Now, my friend worked full-time. I was working full-time. I was working for Home Instead Senior Care at that time. And I used to meet one of the volunteers at 8 o'clock in the morning. Senior center didn't open till 9, but she very willingly met me at 8 in the morning, and because I had the key, and she stayed until I came back from work at 2:30 and answered the phone and just met people. And my friend did all the administration work. And we got programs started, and more people got involved. And it was rewarding to see people come in and say, I don't know what to do today, but now I know we can go to the senior center. So that made you feel good, made you feel like you were helping somebody.
Awesome.
And we did that for close to 6 years. And we had a lot of people that came in and needed financial help, and we couldn't do that as volunteers. So we sent them to the city of Attleboro, to the senior center down there. And after 5 years, almost 6 years, the director down there wrote a letter to the town manager and to the selectmen in Norton and said, it's time you hired a director. So that's how we got a director. And I was on the hiring team to get her.
Terrific. Now, you said that the senior center had been closed for 5 years prior to you reopening it.
Correct.
How were you able to market the reopening of the senior center? Because I'm sure when you unlocked those doors for the first time in 5 years, there wasn't a flock of people that just came running back in.
Correct.
How were you able to promote yourselves and let the town of Norton know that you guys were back and you were open for business?
Well, it was put on cable. Cable advertised it for us. And then we went to the senior housing on West Main Street, and we sent flyers out and said, we're opening the senior center. We're trying to get programs going. We're going to do everything we can. We even sent a survey out to see what they would like, because a lot of women like to knit and crochet, so we wanted to get their interest. And then we had some men that were interested, and they wanted to play games. They wanted to play cribbage. They wanted to do those things. So we encouraged them to ask their friends to come. So it gradually grew.
Nice.
And we got different programs and, had them happy.
And I know you said there was no funding. How were you able then to help those who would say, oh, we'd like to see games, we'd like to see crocheting or knitting? How were you able to get those programs where funding was limited at that time?
We took it out of our own money.
Oh, okay.
We did that.
So you did that. I mean, that was out of the greatness of your own heart.
Exactly. And we formed an active council on aging group, and people out of the kindness of their heart chipped in and helped us.
Oh, terrific.
So
what were some of the early programs that started at the senior center after you reopened?
Well, like knitting and crocheting. We had chess. They played chess. They came once a week to bingo. That bingo is one of the biggest things.
Oh, yes. My grandmother was big time into bingo.
Yeah, they love bingo. Yep. They love bingo. And then we'd try to get speakers and where I was working for Home Instead, they had a nurse that came and gave a program, and it was free. A lot of these places, they did things free because they knew we were trying to stop.
Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear. Now, it's a senior center, but there's also aspects of this where you don't have to be a senior citizen in order to come here, correct?
Any age is welcome.
Awesome.
Any age.
And now you guys have more than just games there, correct?
Oh, yes.
What else do you guys have there?
Right now at the new senior center, we have line dancing, we have Zumba, we have yoga, we have chair yoga, they're going to just start doing Drums Alive. That's an exercise program.
Nice.
Yeah, that's another exercise program.
Yeah.
and we have 2 pool tables. So we've got a lot of men coming in, which is nice to have the men coming in. And because other senior centers in the area have pool competition. So we're hoping, this is all, the new senior center is new to us only since October. So we've got to work our way up with all these different new programs. We're getting there, slow but sure.
Nice. And do you guys have any events or annual events that you have at senior centers that you guys try to promote? Like, was there a holiday event recently?
Oh, yes, we do. We do Valentine's Day, we do St. Patrick's Day, we do Mother's Day, we do Father's Day, all these programs. We do everything we can to get people to come in and enjoy themselves and be with other people.
Very nice. Now, I understand you're there every Thursday, is that correct?
Yes, Thursday's my volunteer day, but I'm there during the week too.
Right. And you say volunteer. How long have you been volunteering in general with senior centers or with all sorts of other community?
Since 2000, well, with the senior center since 2008.
Nice. Very nice. And that word volunteer is a key word because, of course, that means you're willingly doing it, right?
Exactly.
And where else have you volunteered throughout your life?
At the church when I was growing up in Pawtucket. I helped out there with things, and I helped when I was working at the doctor's office. They had different programs going on. I started a Sunshine Fund for people, so if somebody in the office was sick, we didn't have to say, oh, we need how much money it was for flowers. We used to get like $3 a month from all the employees, and then when there was sickness or something, we had money to go to. So I did that. That was a volunteer job too.
Now, I understand that you also volunteer when it comes to elections in Norton?
Yes, that's a big job.
Oh, yes. Can you just take me through what that's like? Because that happens every single year.
Right.
But, of course, 2 months ago, it was a big one because it was the presidential election.
Correct.
Can you just take me through what that day looks like for you?
Well, it starts weeks before the election because you have to now we have early voting, and people get the cards from the state, and then they send back to us and whether they want, what election they want, they mail in for, and some of them don't answer, and then they want to know about early voting. And I have always worked at elections for many years. That's another volunteer thing that I did. But about 4 years ago, our town clerk at that time asked if I'd be willing to find all the volunteers for the election.
Wow.
So this past election in November, I had 37 workers. And between early voting and working at the polls, I had 37 people.
How did you find 37 people to do that?
Names people have given through the years, and I would call, and I'm not trying to brag, but I have to say, if I call my group, they were there.
Wow.
And I have been told about that people respect me for doing that.
Right. So that's a good group you have.
Yes, a very trustworthy group.
Yep.
And if they can't work one day, well, they can come in the next day. I give them the days that I need them for.
Is this a group that you've known and worked with for years?
No.
No?
A lot of them are new people.
Okay.
A lot of people. I get quite a few from the senior center. And they, whatever Ruth asks, Ruth gets. That's what they tell me.
Right. But do you think maybe that's because you show so much kindness and so much respect that there's a reciprocation?
Exactly. We respect each other.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's one of the big things I wanted to discuss with you was reciprocation, because I truly believe what goes around comes around. If you are a great person and if you show kindness and respect to others, you'll get that in return. And
Yes.
I feel like you're seeing that with all of your volunteerism, everything you do at the senior center.
True. And Beth, the director, nominated me for the True Santa this year. There was 12 people in the surrounding area, and I knew nothing about it because I don't like to be in the limelight like right now. And I got a call, asked if I could be interviewed, and then I had my picture taken, and then it was in the Sun Chronicle. And one of the women that was on the planning board, she shared it on Facebook. Well, when she shared it, 3 or 4 other people shared it. And I have to say, I had like 100 comments on how thankful and trustworthy people felt that I was, and they made me feel humble. Really, I was really humbled by everything they said.
Did you kind of stop and think to yourself, wow, this is really what it's about here? It's the amount of lives you've touched, the amount of lives you've impacted through the years.
Exactly. You don't think of that when you're doing it. You just do it because you want to do it. And then when people say, oh, we've loved what you've done all these years, I never thought of it that way. I just did it.
Was that the most humbling experience you think you've had?
Yes, definitely.
That's terrific.
Definitely.
Go back to the Sun Chronicle. There was an article about you in there with some pictures.
Yes.
I couldn't help but notice that one of the pictures, you had a plate of cookies.
That's a funny story because the photographer for the Sun Chronicle had called and asked if he could meet me at the senior center.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a 12-foot Christmas tree at the senior center. So he took my picture there, and then Beth, the director, said, let's go in the kitchen and find some cookies.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in there. They put a Santa hat on me and an apron that said Norton's COA on it. And I handed him a cookie, and he was thrilled. But after that, I went one step further. He says, now I have to go to Dunkin' Donuts to get my coffee. I said, no, you don't. I got coffee right here. Mm-hmm. So I went in the little the pantry we have, and I got him a cup and a cover, and I made him a cup of coffee. And he seemed very, very pleased. I know he was pleased. Yeah. And it made me happy that I followed through on things.
Yeah, of course.
It was nice.
So let's talk more about the senior center and everything that you guys offer there. I understand there's also learning and education for individuals there as well. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
What exactly could they learn about there?
We have tech help. A lot of older people don't know how to even use their phones. Mm-hmm. They have a phone for an emergency, but we have a very good volunteer that he and his wife come Thursday afternoons, and if you need help, you sign up, and it's for a half an hour, but if it needs to be more than a half an hour, they take the time. Mm-hmm. And they help a lot of people with an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, and make them feel comfortable.
How difficult was that, trying to find someone who would come in to do that once or twice a week?
Well, he's on the COA.
Okay, all right.
He's on the COA board, and he saw the need, and he offered his services.
Oh, terrific.
So that's nice, too.
Nice. And then you guys, if I'm not mistaken, you guys also have a program there that helps those who are really in need of assistance with potential issues, like whether it's physical, emotional, financially. Can you just take us through that as well?
We have, Beth, and we have another person, when people need help with fuel assistance and things, they have special programs, and they have an appointment. They sit down and talk to them, and they help all ages. I mean, there are people that are being more or less told they don't have a place to live anymore, and they come in, even with their kids in tow, they need help. And there's always somebody there to help them or find help for them.
And that's got to feel good for them.
Yeah, we can't always help them, but we give them other avenues that they can go in.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
Help them get on the right path.
Right. And with the new senior center, we have attached to it our food pantry. Mm-hmm. And that's another big thing that helps a lot of people.
Right.
And then we have a grab-and-go meal that you sign up what you want for meals. You can have it 4 days a week, or you can have it 1 day a week, whatever you need. And you drive up and get your meal. And hopefully someday, as time goes on, we'll have sit-down meals at lunchtime where you pay $2, and then you can sit and talk to, friends or meet different people.
Yeah. So the socialization is so important.
Exactly. It is, especially as you get older.
Right.
Because you've lost your friends or lost your spouse, and a lot of kids don't want to bother with their parents, and they don't realize how important that really is.
Oh, I know.
At Thanksgiving time, my husband and we invited a senior that had no family to come to our house for Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
And that made you feel good.
Yeah. And That senior must have been
Oh, he was thrilled.
so comfortable to be
Yes.
there with you guys.
Yes, he was thrilled.
What was his reaction when you invited him?
I personally thought I shouldn't invite him, that maybe he should, because he had helped with him with some problems at his house. He had some things that he couldn't do, and he went over to help, and they had become pretty close too. And so he said to me, how about if we ask him to come for lunch? So I said, you ask him, because I think he'll appreciate it coming from you even more so. So he did, and he was thrilled.
So this is something then, the kindness and the courtesy runs in the Schneider family. And I understand that you have kids, you have grandkids, and you have a great-grandkid.
A brand new great-great-grandson.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So can you just talk to us about how you have always tried to teach everyone in your family, we're talking 5 generations now, how you try to teach everyone that doing the right thing is the way to live life, and being kind and courteous is the way that you're going to get far in life.
Right. If you can't say something good about somebody, don't say anything.
Right.
That's my philosophy.
Is that something you've really tried to preach to your kids?
Yes. Yes. I have always told the kids that, to be thankful for whatever they have and be kind to people, because you don't know what kind of a day they've had.
Right. Exactly.
You know, you never know. No, people don't know.
Right.
And my late husband was sick for 7 years, and he had a head injury, and that taught me a lot.
Yeah.
To be strong and keep going.
Yeah. For 7 years.
Yeah. 7 years.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It wasn't easy, but you get through it. You do it.
And you were able to learn a lot through that time. As
Right.
I would imagine you were there as the caretaker.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And when a person's sick, they say things and do things that they normally don't do.
Right.
So you've got to try and be strong and support them and try to do your very best.
Do you feel as though your life experiences prior to that really helped guide you
Yes.
through handling that situation?
Yes. Yes, I always do think that.
And then do you think afterwards as well, everything you went through has really helped you out when it comes to working with people at the senior center who might be sick or who might be having a tough time as well?
Right. I have people come and talk to me because they know I keep it to myself. I don't go telling everybody if they have a problem.
Right.
And they trust me, and that makes me feel good.
Do you feel like you're the voice of reason or someone at the center that anyone who may be experiencing a bit of a crisis could go to?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
I do. I feel good about that.
Yeah. Even if there might not be a lot of suggestions to offer, just knowing that you're someone they could speak to.
Exactly.
Great for them as well.
And know that I'm not going to go tell everybody in the world.
Right.
You know, they feel confident that they can trust me.
Right. Well, and that's welcoming too. That makes them want to come back to the senior center. Maybe even if there's an event going on that they may not want to partake in, just seeing someone they feel comfortable with is what brings them there.
Exactly. Exactly. There's a lot of people, there's quite a few people like that too.
Oh, terrific.
That come for that.
Do you find that you've made friends with a lot of the people who have been regular attendees over the years?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Because you see them maybe 5 times a week or whatever, you're there. And a lot of them aren't open to talk to people. But after a while, you see them by themselves. So I notice it, and I go over and say, how are you today? How are things going? And I just put myself in their position, how I would feel if nobody talked to me. So that's what I try to do.
Right. And it's one of those things where you mentioned a few moments ago, you don't know what kind of a day they're having.
Exactly.
But if you see them numerous times a week and then see that they're kind of not being themselves, you might suspect something might be
Correct. Correct. And so without pouncing on them or making them feel uncomfortable, I usually go over and maybe put my hand on their shoulder or something and just, how are things going today? And that usually opens them up. So,
does the senior center have a Facebook page or any use of social media where you promote things?
Yes.
What is the page?
Well, at Norton Senior Center.
Okay.
That's under that.
Nice. Is there a website as well, or can they just...
There is a website, but at this moment, I can't remember the website address.
So I would suggest then to people who are watching to go on to the Facebook page, Norton Senior Center, for all things at Senior Center, updates, any kind of events that might be coming up.
We have a newsletter that goes out twice every 2 months.
Oh, terrific.
And the calendar is in there. And
nice. What's usually featured in the newsletter?
It will tell them the times of all the different programs. And if there's a lunch, they'll tell, because we have lunch and learn once a month.
Oh, nice.
And they have people, and they come over, they have lunch, and they learn whatever episode it might be, whatever it might be. There's all different, sometimes we have an attorney come and talk about wills and, things like that. Then we've had nurses come. We had a nurse at the other old senior center that talked about Parkinson's disease and told all the different things about it. I mean, things that people don't want to always hear about, but then they listen.
Right.
Makes a big difference.
Well, and you guys are offering support in that way too, because sometimes you do have to prepare.
Right. And about not being able to live alone, to get help for in-home or memory units and things. There's a lot out there that people don't realize, and they need to ask.
What about ways of either preventing falls or how to recover when there is a fall? Because I know that happens sometimes, especially this time of the year where there's a lot of ice on the ground.
Correct.
Do you guys have a nurse or anyone come in talking about falls and safety?
We've had the fire department come in and talk about that. In fact, they're coming this next week.
All right, so next week at the Senior Center, what day specifically?
I believe it's the first week of January. Okay. One of the days, it'll be on the new newsletter will be going out for January 1st.
Okay, and it sounds like the fire department comes in and does this a couple of times, right?
Yes, they do.
All right.
Yeah.
What are some of the things they talk about when it comes to falling?
Well, a lot of things in your home is your scatter rugs.
Right.
That's one of the things to be very careful for. And if you live alone, you should take precautionary. Like if you really you need to wear a lifeline. Mm-hmm. But the nurse, a lot of doctors will have nurses come into these people and talk to them about things too. Right. And that's where your kids should get involved too. They're the ones that should be helping too.
Yeah.
But a lot of seniors aren't lucky enough to have their children. So they have to depend on other people.
Well, and that's what it comes down to sometimes, is that they need someone like a Ruth Schneider to depend on.
Well, thank you for saying that, but that's what I'm there for. I try to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know I do.
Yeah.
I know I do. So.
Well, and you make a difference too. I mean, I think that humbling experience you had with the Sun Chronicle article that was shared on social media and all of the comments, I mean, that right there should give you a nice little figurative pat on the shoulder saying you've done well.
In fact, today at the town hall, I worked at town hall today to help out, and I saw somebody I hadn't seen, and she said, "Oh, that article was beautiful." She says, "Ruth, do you realize how many hearts you've touched?" I could have cried. Yeah. I could have cried. Oh. That made me feel good.
Well, Ruth, you sound like you're someone who does this because you want to do it, not because you want the attention for that. And I think that this world would be a much better place if there were more Ruth Schneiders like you in the world.
Thank you. I do appreciate being asked to do this, and I'm there to help if anybody needs me.
Terrific. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
This is Ruth Schneider, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. This is Norton Media Center Presents. I'm your host, Anthony Champagne, and take care, everyone.